We keep hearing about derivatives all over this XRP community, and I wanted to take the time in this video to explain what derivatives are so that we're all on the same page, so that we all understand just how massive derivatives are for XRP. Especially, of course, if the derivatives lived on the XRP ledger. So I think first we have to start by talking about the three different types of derivatives and how they tie into the blockchain and cryptocurrency world as well. So the first type of derivative is a forward contract or a futures contract. The only difference between those two is that one is for an exchange, that's the futures, and a forward is basically between two individuals, or any time it's outside of an exchange. And at all times, we're going to try and use analogies instead of the terminology that they use, because I think that just makes things easier. So let's get into the first analogy. So a forward contract or a futures contract is essentially two people betting on the outcome of something over a certain period of time. So for example, let's say we've got two farmers. Farmer A believes it's going to rain tomorrow and farmer B says it's not going to rain tomorrow. And then they put some money on the line. So farmer A says, I think it's going to rain tomorrow. If it rains tomorrow, you have to give me some money. And then the other way around. So they both put money on the table. And that's basically a private agreement between those two individuals. And it pays out accordingly depending on what the eventuality is. And like I said, the only difference between a forward contract and a futures contract is that a futures contract in this example would take place at the farmer's market, whereas a forward contract would just happen like at the farm when you're talking to another farmer. Subtle difference there, but I think useful to know. The next one is called an option. So let's say there's a third farmer, and this farmer pays a small fee to have the option, not the obligation, to bet $100 on rain happening in 2 weeks' time. And if he decides to pay the fee to exercise that option, he gets his payout. And if he decides not to execute that option, he just loses the fee and not anything else. Then the final type of derivative is a swap. And this is where, let's use the farmer thing again. You've got two farmers and they decide to swap outcomes for two different events. So let's say farmer A says it's going to rain tomorrow and farmer B says it's not going to rain tomorrow. They essentially could swap positions and pay out according to their updated position on where they stand. Okay, so we understand some things about derivatives now, but what's the purpose? Like, why do we even have these derivatives in the first place? Well, the first reason is that you want to hedge. It can serve a hedging purpose. So let's use like an events planner analogy here. And this event is taking place outside. The event planner says, actually, I'm going to place a hedge bet on the idea that it's going to rain on the day of the picnic, so that if the picnic doesn't go ahead because it rained, at least I don't lose out and actually can recuperate my losses from the picnic. So you can use it to hedge in that way. And of course, if it doesn't rain and the picnic does go ahead, then you just pay your fee, right? Your options fee. These derivatives are also, of course, used for speculation and trying to make money because there's margins to be made and they can be increased with leverage. Leverage essentially just being credit. But now that boring stuff is out of the way, I want to talk about how derivatives are so exciting for cryptocurrency and blockchain and XRP. Because when you look at contracts these days, what do we have? We have pen and paper, and at best it's digital on a computer locally on their server. Once you start incorporating tokenized assets and NFTs and smart contracts, these things starts to get a little bit crazy. I mean, just hear me out here, right? You can quite easily set yourself up for a situation like this, where you've got 4 different people and 1 rental property. Person 1 buys that property for its revenue that it generates. He then tokenizes that asset and makes it an NFT even. And within the NFT, there's a contract that will execute automatically when certain events happen. Like when he sells the deeds, then the money gets sent to X wallet and he will receive into X wallet upon the certain things happening. But instead of selling the property, he decides to create an NFT, mint an NFT with a smart contract inside that basically gives away 50% of the revenue generated from that property to somebody else, right? For a fee. And that person might pay lots of money for that. So if person A makes like $10,000 a year on that property and he's given away half of it to someone else, they're not just buying it for $5,000. There's a premium, right? Because now I'm giving you the NFT that allows you access to that revenue stream over long periods of time. So it would be completely up to person 1 as to how they sell that and the value that they sell it at. Usually when these purchases of businesses happen, or companies, they look at the value over the next 10 years of that property and factor that in to the sale price. So if I know that NFT that represents 50% of the property's revenue, the income generated from that property, if I know over 10 years that's going to be worth $50,000, I could sell that NFT for $40,000 and that person's going to flip it in the next 10 years to make $10,000 profit. So what's happened here, right? What just happened? You've got a property that is yielding this gentleman $10,000 a year, and all of a sudden he just made $40,000 giving away the rights to half of the revenue. What if person number 2 decided to fractionalize his 50% and fractionalize that between 10 other different people, and those 10 different people would now get access to his 50% but at a marked up price? So person 2 now makes a premium on all of the people below him. And I know this is like fractionalized banking, but what this is actually showing is that within derivatives, you have something called rehypothecation, which is essentially where you use your assets and borrow against them, collateralize them, and use them for other purposes. And this is really the type of thing that makes derivatives really complex. And it's also where you can start getting crazy notional values of what the derivatives market is actually worth. Because all along this process, whether you're borrowing money or adding money to it or dividing it and getting premiums, all of these things add to the entire value of the market, right, within that chain of people. And so you get something called the real world value of the market and the notional value of the market. The notional is like thinking about all these layers of complexity and adding it all up. And this is where we start hearing numbers like $1 quadrillion or $1.2 quadrillion being the derivatives market, because it goes so many layers deep. And then even further than that, I'm just trying to have the thought process here going really far down the hole. What if one of the people who got fractionalized shares of the revenue of person 2's shares of revenue of person 1's 50%, what if they borrowed against the value of their NFT? What if they got a loan out against the value of their fractionalized portion of an NFT? It just gets absolutely mind-blowing. And so when this is all on the blockchain and it's all linked up with NFTs and smart contracts, the thing gets so automated it actually becomes easy to navigate. No longer is that complex. And so of course, when you've got the ISDA partnering with Ripple and XRP for all of derivatives around the world, clearly one of the big pain points from a derivative standpoint is being able to track the transactions, doing them at speed with sufficient liquidity. All of these things make a massive difference at this scale. And so when you think about derivatives, I want you to think about every agreement that is made in entirety. We could be talking about a receipt from a store. Let's say you buy a Pokemon card, for example, from a shop, and you keep it for 20 years and you keep the receipt. Imagine that receipt is on the blockchain, so you could always verify that it was you who bought that specific Pokemon card. Then 30 years later, that Pokemon card is now worth $1 million, and you've got the blockchain receipt to show it. You tokenize that receipt and you give people the opportunity to also buy parts of that card fractionalized and earn a yield over the capital growth of that asset over time. And it's all automated. You can just do that with things of value in your life. And we're not talking about Pokemon cards really here, are we? We're talking about our XRP. And having that injection of XRP into the derivatives market, therefore reducing supply because these entities need liquidity, so they buy vast amounts of XRP, taking it off the market, meaning there's a lower supply of XRP in the market, increasing the demand, meaning a higher price for XRP. And if the derivatives market is over $1 quadrillion in size, just imagine what the price is going to be for XRP. It cannot be dirt cheap. It's been said. It's been said, and not just by anyone. It was said by David Schwartz. It cannot be dirt cheap. It needs to be high. It needs to be a high price. And I will say it again, it won't be the last time I say it. Cross-border payments, we all think, is the primary objective for Ripple. That is the stepping stone into derivatives. I'm just saying it. Cross-border payments was a nice, easy, quick fix. It makes sense for everyone around the world. We can solve cross-border. They go, oh, that's great. But we actually mostly can do derivatives and take over the whole market. I think that's the plan for Ripple. It'll be very exciting to see how this thing plays out. Now, if you've got anything to add about the derivatives market conversation, please let me know in the comments. It'd be wonderful to have a look at them. If you're watching on Twitter, please hit follow for more videos like this every single weekday. If you're on YouTube, you can obviously hit subscribe and see my next video and get notified when it comes out. Make sure you watch my other content to get juicy information from people I've interviewed or discussed just like this. Stay emotionless, and I'll see you in the next one.